Lawmakers are set to vote this week on potentially reining in the president's war powers, or at least trying to, in response to the U.S. military action in Iran. It comes as the House and Senate are set to receive all-member briefings from top administration officials tomorrow. Let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns, who is on Capitol Hill this morning. Caitlin, what is the latest that we're hearing from lawmakers on their war powers vote? What does it expect to do, and how many do they think they have the votes?
Well, Adriana, there has long been a push for Congress to exercise some authority here, and there's been a push in the House and the Senate to push a resolution to essentially say the administration can't act further without buy-in, weigh-in from Congress. Now, those bills in the House and the Senate are a huge uphill climb, and a lot will be riding on what lawmakers hear in these briefings that you mentioned. The briefings will start today, this afternoon, late this afternoon. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the CIA Director Ratcliffe will be up here on Capitol Hill briefing the members of the Gang of Eight. These are the top leadership positions in Congress, as well as the top leaders on the intelligence committees in both the House and the Senate. Those briefings begin today, and further briefings for the full Congress will take place starting tomorrow and throughout the week. So there are a lot of questions about the scope of this, given that the president himself has called this a war. There have already been 4 U.S. casualties. The president said that those, American heroes, in his words, could die in these efforts, and there is not a clear sense of how long this will last. So will there be more needed from Congress in terms of approving funds? That could, be some of the things that fall into this conversation. But I will tell you, there's some nuance here. You see Republicans, by and large, reinforcing the president. But Democrats are a little bit divided. There is a handful of Democrats in the House who said that they won't support this war powers resolution because it doesn't give enough flexibility to the executive to work here. So we're watching to see whether what we hear in these briefings and what the president himself says, if he does in fact elaborate on the overall scope and longevity of this operation, that will inform how lawmakers up here are thinking.
And Caitlin, we just spoke with the representative from Washington, Susan DelBene, and we asked her about this war powers resolution. Here's what she said.
Coming to Congress, asking for authorization if folks want to support a particular action because a case has been made, then people can vote yes. But there needs to be a vote. There needs to be, the president needs to come to Congress requesting an authorization for use of military force. And then people, based on the information that's provided, can make their decision. The president cannot move unilaterally. He is not a king. He cannot move without coming to Congress. And campaign talked about preventing and ending forever wars. Over and over and over, he has broken the promises to the American people.
So, Caitlin, even if this resolution were to pass, the president has to sign it. And where do the votes stand? Are Democrats all united against this or for this resolution?
That's right. The president would have to sign this, which likely wouldn't do. And it's notable that not all Democrats are on board. The congresswoman you just spoke to is representative of leadership, which has rallied around this. But there are some rank and file members who are not inclined to support this. The other item, Adriana, is to point out that Congress has long ceded its authority on war powers to the executive, predating Trump. I mean, going back over 20 years, there is a resolution that Congress passed in the days after 9/11 that gave broad authority to the executive to authorize strikes. And they have kind of relied on that for nearly 25 years, kind of referred back to that. Congress has declined to weigh in on some instances in previous administrations, hasn't had the chance to in others. So this does, present a different dynamic, given that the president, as I said, has been calling this a war, that the Secretary of Defense has been calling this a war. So the language here will be important in terms of how Congress assesses this going forward.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns, we know you're going to be on top of it from the Capitol. We appreciate it.